Prime Minister Modi has taken a sharp swipe at the Congress, accusing it of putting the country through taxing times. The opposition, meanwhile, insists the system bears its stamp and claims the credit is theirs. The government counters with tough questions. Why did the Congress delay the rollout? Why sit on it for years only to demand recognition now? Prime Minister Modi's response was sharp.
साथियों, कांग्रेस की सरकार ने कैसे आपका मंथली बजट बढ़ाया हुआ था, ये कोई भूल नहीं सकता है। टूथपेस्ट, साबुन, हेयर ऑयल, इन पर 27% टैक्स। आज आपको याद नहीं होगा, लेकिन आप देते थे। खाने की प्लेट, कप प्लेट, चम्मच, ऐसे सामान पर 18 से लेकर के 28% टैक्स हुआ करता था। टूथ पाउडर 17% टैक्स। यानी रोजमर्रा की ऐसी हर चीज पर उस कांग्रेस के जमाने में इतना सारा टैक्स लगता था। यानी नवरात्रि से ही देश के करोड़ों परिवार की जो जरूरतें हैं वो और अधिक सस्ती मिलनी शुरू हो जाएगी। इस बार धनतेरस की रौनक भी और ज्यादा रहेगी, क्योंकि दर्जनों चीजों पर टैक्स अब बहुत ही कम हो गया है। लेकिन असल में ये देश के लिए सपोर्ट और ग्रोथ की डबल डोज है। डबल डोज यानी एक तरफ देश के सामान्य परिवार की बचत और दूसरी तरफ देश की अर्थव्यवस्था को नई मजबूती। नए जीएसटी रिफॉर्म से देश के हर परिवार को बहुत बड़ा फायदा होगा। गरीब, न्यू मिडिल क्लास, किसान, महिलाएं, स्टूडेंट्स, नौजवान, सभी को जीएसटी टैक्स कम करने से जबरदस्त फायदा होने वाला है।
Tamil Nadu stands first in its contribution to GDP. But the government of India is not giving money. They have taken away our rights, the state's rights to collect commercial taxes. And they are giving less money to the states ruled by the opposition parties. So, whatever the change in the structure of the GST, all we say is that commercial taxes should be brought back to the state's powers. GST should be abolished, and what had happened earlier, the states were collecting commercial taxes, that should be brought back. Only then the states will flourish.
हमारा मानना ये है कि स्टेट्स को तो खाली ग्रॉस टैक्स रेवेन्यू शेयर मिलता है। सेंटर जो मिल रहा है सेस एंड सरचार्ज में, वो तो इरोड करता है डिविजिबल पूल के साइज को, और सेंटर रिकॉर्ड सम लेता है सेसेस के ऊपर, फ्यूल, जीएसटी, कंपनसेशन, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर, एजुकेशन, मगर ये डिवाइजिबल पूल से बाहर है। स्टेट्स का तो हिस्सा इसमें नहीं है ना, तो स्टेट्स का नुकसान होगा। और फिर ये जो जीएसटी रिजीम, जीएसटी को आप रिड्यूस कर रहे हैं, मुझे लगता है कि स्टेट के फाइनेंसेस को डिस्प्रोपोर्शनेटली हिट करेगा।
Special correspondent Aishwarya Jain now joins me live on this face-off on the GST between the BJP and the opposition parties. Aishwarya, you had the Prime Minister say that this is a double dose of support and growth for India, but the opposition, of course, claiming otherwise, also claiming that to start with, this wasn't an NDA's idea.
Years are too late is something that senior Congress leaders have stated so far, be it former Finance Minister P. Chidambaram to senior leaders of the India bloc, including Mamata Banerjee, who posted that letter on the social media platform X and stated that this is what we have been demanding for so long. It was Rahul Gandhi's speeches which had now been reposted by the Congress party back then, to which Rahul Gandhi urged that there should be only 18% GST cap and all the other slabs should be removed. Congress party very sharply had attacked and tried to take the credit for the entire decision that the government of India has taken. The Congress party reacted and stated that Prime Minister now has finally understood that as long as these changes are not introduced and there is no substantial increase in consumption and spending, the process of development will not escalate, and therefore the reason perhaps the government was bound after the GST Council meeting that there should be next reforms that should now take place. The government on their side had stated that this was a need of an hour. It's just not something that P. Chidambaram had been asking or had been claiming that this is because of the pressure of US tariffs or because of Bihar polls. This is a long drawn process of the government of India. Long deliberations took place between the finance minister. Prime Minister had earlier constituted a GOM in which several secretaries, ministers had been asked about their recommendation as well. And only after that, a well-thought process was brought into the decision, and the decision is for the common person, which will give benefit. And as Prime Minister stated, that it's a double bonanza pre-Diwali gift that the people of India has got.
Thanks for joining us on that big story. All right, now we want to bring you some details, and these are exclusive details on the inside story on how GST 2.0 consensus was reached. The Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman held multiple meetings over 6 months is what we're being told. She spoke to a lot of stakeholders for 6 months, after which the move towards consensus was taking place. Prime Minister Modi had a clear directive, which was to provide relief to the middle class as well. Home Minister Amit Shah also chaired meetings to build consensus among leaders. So it's of course not just the finance minister. You had a lot of cabinet ministers also being key stakeholders in achieving consensus. Prime Minister Modi had instructed that the revenue situation should be clarified for states. Remember, a compensatory cess was earlier levied on sin goods, which now doesn't exist under the reform. A few states, of course, also opposing the reforms before the meeting and even during the meeting, some of them also being West Bengal, Punjab, Kerala and Karnataka. They were the most vocal states, is what we're being told, being opposition states as well. But then we believe that Punjab and West Bengal eventually agreed, after which you had that meeting which was to last for 2 days, lasting for once. The prolonged standoff frustrated other states. Chhattisgarh suggested the council should vote eventually, and Finance Minister Sitharaman intervened, asking members then if they wanted a vote. West Bengal then intervened and convinced Karnataka and Kerala. The GST revamp decision was then announced on the 3rd of September. We were expecting that to go on for at least 2 days, the meeting, but the announcement came at the end of the first day itself. My colleague Vishnu Som spoke to Union Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal on the GST overall. Here's an excerpt.
Since there are people across the country watching this, in simple terms, how was it a priority of this government to ensure that millions had a little bit more to spend at one level?
At the outset, I'd like to thank Prime Minister Narendra Modi for this historic decision to reduce GST on such a wide plethora of goods and services, particularly those that affect the common man, women, youth, farmers, MSMEs. Because the way he has very systematically, over the last 11 years, changed a fragile 5, completely devastated economy into the world's top 5 economies, well on track to become the 3rd largest GDP by 2027. Today, the world's fastest growing large economy for the last 4 years, clearly reflecting a renewed confidence and a renewed ability, thanks to strong macroeconomic fundamentals, to be able to carry out a step as transformational as this reduction in GST. This has been done to a plan. It's not as if it's an overnight decision. Obviously, you will realize that when such a large number of changes are done to rates, rationalization of rates, processes, simplification of procedures, It's a labor of love of many, many months. Officers, groups of ministers from the states, the central government, everybody has worked on this. And I think it's a series of steps being taken to strengthen the economy. You saw the income tax reduction of rates, and increase in slabs without payment of tax. Now up to 12.75 lakhs for a salaried person, and 12 lakhs otherwise also. A person doesn't have to pay any income tax, and that has given a huge relief to the middle class. This step coming so soon thereafter is an icing on the cake. It in a way gives a big boost to consumption demand, coupled with the huge investments the government is doing on infrastructure spending. The two pillars, infrastructure spending and consumption demand, collectively making up the GDP, and with a huge multiplier impact in terms of growing demand leading to higher production, particularly now the demand for Swadeshi goods. India-made goods is also becoming current coin. More and more people are now...
I see you're doing away with Coca-Cola and aerated drinks, you put them at 40%.
Well, I wouldn't like to comment on that, but the idea is to promote domestic goods. And I'm very confident that the cumulative effect of all these transformational initiatives, and many, many more to come, this is just the beginning of the next generation reforms.
Is this going to boost our GDP growth?
Well, GDP growth has consistently been high. We have been able to bring inflation down to 1.55%. It will clearly have a very positive impact on GDP growth. It will clearly help us to sustain the momentum. And over the next few years in the Amrit Kal, our effort to take a $4 trillion economy to a $30 trillion economy by 2047, bring greater prosperity to the last man at the bottom of the pyramid, ensure that 140 crore Indians get a better quality of life. They have ease of living. Their children get high quality healthcare, education, good opportunities in life. This mission that Prime Minister Modi has set out on will get a huge impetus with this reduction and rationalization and reform of GST laws.